There once lived a boy named Jerry, notorious in the neighborhood for his unkempt hair and knack for inventing games involving copious amounts of mud. Surprisingly, his intellectual prowess didn't stop him from having to sell newspapers to fund his academic endeavors. Jerry had an appetite that rivaled the largest of vacuum cleaners, which led him to face his greatest enemy, hunger. On one exceptionally ravenous day, Jerry roamed the neighborhood with the gusto of a nice, polite door-to-door salesman. He knocked on doors with the charm of a veteran debater and the face of a pitiful puppy. "Excuse me, ma'am, care to donate a sandwich to quench a starving intellectual's voracious thoughts?" he quipped. Alas, his efforts were fruitless. More doors slammed shut than Jerry could count on his fingers. Just as Jerry began to contemplate the nutritional value of impulses bought at vending machines, he stumbled upon Nancy, an unlikely heroine with the decisiveness of a ninja. With a radiant smile that had been mistaken thrice for the sun itself, Nancy offered Jerry not a turkey club or PB&J, but a glass filled with an elixir known as milk. "I insist, no charge," Nancy declared suavely as Jerry attempted to scrounge together coins from his multifarious pockets. The initiative was met with the stern expression of a benevolent capitalist turned socialist. Years passed, and Jerry became a doctor whose IQ skyrocketed after discovering the relationship between fiber intake and brain power. Meanwhile, Nancy faced the unforeseeable, an ailment so fierce even the local witch doctor in receipt of daily coffee bribes wouldn't dare tackle. Determined, Nancy found herself in Jerry's practice, wondering if karma deserved a footnote in the scientific community. Jerry, now equipped with medically approved mops for hair, devoted himself to Nancy's recovery like Newton debating the validity of gravity. Months flashed before Nancy's eyes, accompanied by the soothing sound of hospital machinery and Jerry's philosophical discussions ranging from homemade combat boots to the taxonomy of lint. Then came the day Nancy received the infamous, hopelessly oversized hospital bill. Expecting to hand over numerous family heirlooms, or perhaps arm wrestle Jerry for a discount, Nancy unfolded the bill to read, "Paid in full with a glass of milk." Tears welled in Nancy's eyes as the gentle echoes of their shared past reminded her how life truly does have a sense of humor and justice. As the folk of the town discovered, acts of kindness are pricey investments with the highest of returns. Fortuitous incidents worthy of storytelling at every dinner party, maternity ward, or riverside chat. A lonely elephant wandered through the dense forest, a gentle giant in search of companionship. Despite his enormous size, his heart yearned for a friend who would appreciate him for who he was. As he trudged along, he encountered a lively monkey swinging between the branches of a tall tree. The elephant extended a friendly trunk, asking the monkey if they might be friends. The monkey paused, tilted its head, and then shook it sadly. "I appreciate your offer," the monkey said, "but you can't swing on the trees like I do. We're just too different." The elephant sighed, understanding yet disappointed, and continued his journey. Soon, he met a rabbit hopping around its burrow. Hopeful, the elephant approached and gently inquired if the rabbit could be his friend. The rabbit looked up apprehensively, considering the elephant's massive size. "I'm sorry," the rabbit replied, "but you are way too big to fit into my burrow. I don't think we can be friends." Again, the elephant nodded, respecting the rabbit's decision, and moved on. He happened upon a frog perched by a sparkling pond. The elephant politely asked the same question, but the frog declined, explaining that the elephant could not jump and play like him. The elephant's heart felt heavy with each rejection, and he trotted deeper into the woods, wondering if there would ever be a place where he truly belonged. Every creature he met seemed to have the same reason to turn him away. As the sun began to set, turning the sky a brilliant orange, a commotion broke the quiet. The elephant noticed a panicked group of animals racing past him, their eyes wide with fear. Curious, he stopped a bear and asked what had happened. "A tiger," panted the bear. A tiger has attacked us. The bear scampered off, leaving the elephant alone once more. Determined to help, the elephant approached the fearsome tiger and calmly requested, "Please leave my friends in peace." The tiger sneered, dismissing the elephant's plea with a dark chuckle. Faced with the tiger's refusal, the elephant knew he had to act. Summoning all his courage and strength, he charged at the tiger, trumpeting loudly. Startled by the sudden assault from an opponent so unexpectedly fierce, the tiger fled into the depths of the jungle. The animals emerged slowly from their hiding places, relief washing over their faces. Grateful for the elephant's bravery, they gathered around him, cheering and thanking him for saving them. "You may not swing or jump," said the monkey, "but you are exactly the friend we needed." The elephant smiled, finally realizing the true worth of friendship, a bond not bound by size or shape, but by the courage and heart one is willing to share.
Once upon a time, far beyond the realms known to ordinary mortals, there existed a magical world at the edge of the galaxy known as Starland. This enchanted world was woven from the very dust of stars, where the ground shimmered like silver and the skies floated with clouds of rainbow hues. In this world, each inhabitant possessed a tiny twinkling star called the wish star. When someone truly desired something, their star would glow brightly, gradually bringing their wish to fruition. In this shimmering land lived a little girl named Anaya, quite different from her peers. Her star was a dull glimmer and never shone brightly. Others teased her, "Your star must be broken." But Anaya never grew sad, for she believed her star was special, it simply hadn't awakened yet. One night, while all of Starland slumbered, Anaya heard a faint whisper. A glow emanated from her wardrobe. Upon opening it, she found a door, crafted entirely from starlight. Beyond that door lay a different realm, the Darkland, where no star ever gleamed. There awaited her a wise old owl, Knowledge brewed. "Anaya," he hooted, "your star doesn't glow because its destiny isn't tied here, you must illuminate Darkland." Showing great courage, Anaya ventured through the portal. There she found 3 companions: Snooze, a perpetually sleepy rabbit capable of dreaming future events; Brushstroke, a cat made entirely of colors, able to paint hues wherever she went; Nimbus, a tiny cloud whose tears nurtured the growth of trees. Together, the foursome embarked on a journey to the heart of Darkland, ruled by the shadowy monarch, Lord Shadira, who had never glimpsed a star and had, in envy, stolen all light from the world. Upon seeing Anaya's dim star, Shadira sneered, "A weak star like yours could never spread light." But Anaya closed her eyes and conjured her deepest desire, to be a light for others, and suddenly her star burst into radiance. Its brilliance illuminated the whole of Darkland. Even Shadira's heart softened, and for the first time, a tiny star appeared in his sky. When Anaya returned to Starland, her star shone brighter than any other. No one teased her anymore, children instead asked, "Why is your star so special?" She would smile and reply, "Because I chose to be the light in others' darkness." That's the true magic. Moral of the story: true magic lies in helping others. When we become a light for others, our own star shines brightest of all.
In a serene forest far from the clamor of human life, the Buddha sat beneath a venerable Bodhi tree. His disciples gathered around him in rapt attention. Their minds were abuzz with questions, their hearts eager for the nectar of wisdom that dripped from the Master's words. Yet this day, the Buddha spoke not a single word. The disciples, perplexed by this silence, looked at each other. Some murmured, seeking answers. What had happened? Where were the profound lectures, the teachings that ignited the soul and cleared the fog of ignorance? Understanding their bewilderment, the Buddha raised his palm, gesturing them to quietude. In the tranquil air, the sound of a distant brook could be heard merging with the rustling leaves. Birds called to one another, communicating in a symphony without language. Ananda, the Buddha's devoted attendant, unable to grasp the lesson in silence, finally asked, "Master, is there no teaching today?" The Buddha smiled, his eyes a calmed ocean. Ananda, he said softly, do not always look for my voice. The Dharma speaks in the silence of nature, in the whispers of wind that embrace each leaf, in the patience of the stones that witness ages pass. Silence, too, is a teaching. The disciples listened to the Buddha's few words, but it was the wordless understanding that resonated within. Days passed, and slowly the disciples began to tune into the silent teachings that lay around them. They watched a flower unfurl in the dawn light, its petals gently opening without haste. They observed a spider weaving a web, each thread carefully placed in the silence of the night. In these moments, they found the Dharma, a lesson in presence, a sharing of pure consciousness, free of chatter and clutter. A great master once said, within silence, 1,000 teachings are spoken. Thus, the disciples learned that wisdom can be absorbed not only through words, but through the silent understanding of the heart that listens beyond the ears. In time, they grew grateful for the lesson in silence, for it unfolded the truth that understanding could flourish without discourse, that connection could deepen without a single utterance. And so, the Buddha's silent teaching became a cherished memory, a profound insight that led them closer to enlightenment. It was a lesson in recognizing the subtle wisdom present in each moment, a reminder that sometimes being present speaks volumes more than 1,000 words ever could.
Once upon a time, nestled upon an ancient oak tree, there lived an old owl, wiser than the wisest librarian and quieter than a whisper in a library. The owl, being a creature of habit, spent his days observing the whimsical world around him through his round spectacles, which were purely for style, of course, as owls have exceptional eyesight. One fine morning, he noticed a small boy assisting an old man in carrying a basket that might as well have contained the entire collection of Shakespeare's works. Ah, a youthful gentleman, mused the owl, jotting down a mental note. The very next day, he noticed a little girl bellowing at her mother as if auditioning for a role in a melodrama. With each peculiar episode, the owl grew ever more silent, choosing to listen to the tapestry of tales unfolding around him. He became akin to a fly on the wall, except with feathers and a far more discerning gaze. He heard about an elephant who fancied himself an escape artist, trampolining over fences with majestic grace, quite the spectacle, as elephants are not typically known for their acrobatic aspirations. The owl also overheard a rather boastful chap claiming he'd never made a mistake in his life, a statement so ludicrous that the owl nearly fell off his perch. But he listened intently, for he knew wisdom often masquerades itself in curious ways. Time passed like an indecisive breeze, and the owl observed humanity's grand drama unfolding below, witnessing transformations aplenty. Some individuals bloomed into paragons of virtue, while others managed to become bloated caricatures of themselves. Remarkable really, how humans can pivot from cherubs to impish devils without even batting an eyelid. As days faded into years, the owl, absorbing stories and conversations like a sponge, realized the profound truth: sometimes, the path to wisdom doesn't require one to speak, but rather to listen. To be the conductor of an orchestra of insights. And thus, the owl, nestled on his oak tree, became the wisest of all creatures, without uttering a word. Moral of the story? Sometimes, a silent night doesn't necessarily mean nothing's happening, it might just be an owl listening.
In the kingdom of all that glitters, there was a king renowned for his fondness for all things shiny. His name was King Midas, and unbeknownst to the common folk, he was embroiled in a saga that would teach him and his subjects a lesson most golden. One fine day, while not busy counting gold coins, King Midas stumbled upon an inebriated satyr sprawled under his prize olive tree. Unsure whether this was a real satyr or the result of too much wine sampling, Midas decided to perform a deed of kindness or curiosity, depending on whom you ask, and escorted the satyr to safety. Now, Dionysus, the jolly god of revelry, wine, and questionable decisions, decided to honor Midas's accidental benevolence with a boon. Dionysus was famous for his generosity, especially after a bottle or 2, or 10, of ambrosia. "Tell me what you wish for, old chap," Dionysus merrily presented. Midas, with stars, or perhaps avarice, in his eyes, declared he desired the power to turn everything he touched into gold. Dionysus, who was known for his Phaeacian print, whimsically warned him of potential caveats. But Midas, having skipped the fine print, insisted. Thus was bestowed unto him the golden touch. With a gleam in his eye, Midas returned to his castle, a walking alchemy factory. Everything was transformed, his throne, scepter, chandeliers, even the unfortunate court jester who'd unwisely attempted a handshake. But soon King Midas began to discover his power had all the glitter, but none of the practicality. His roasted pheasants, his favorite morning porridge, turned into metallic monuments of uneatable splendor. In desperation, Midas attempted to share his woes with his favorite daughter, whose hugs were renowned for comforting even the worst of golden mishaps. Alas, she turned into an immovable golden statue. As the kingdom buzzed with concern, and their golden ruler sat in gilded gloom, Midas realized that his shiny boon was a curse dressed as a blessing. Ultimately, with a solemn promise made in exchange for another favor from the gods, fewer gold, more wisdom this time, Midas relinquished the golden touch. Moral: excessive greed results in one's downfall and an unappetizing dinner menu. Once upon a time, in a village that could only be found on maps drawn by marathon runners, there was an old man named Mr. Stickles, who had 3 sons, Grumpy Greg, Moody Mike, and Sulky Sam. These lovable scamps had one common trait: their incessant love to bicker about everything. Whether it was the weather, the color of the sky, or whose turn it was to wash the donkey, their motto was, "Why agree when you can argue?" In his quest for peace and quiet, Mr. Stickles tried everything short of bribing the local magician to cast a silent spell. He even took up knitting socks in hopes they'd argue about their sizes instead. Alas, nothing worked. Fast forward a few months, and Mr. Stickles found himself bedridden, under siege by both his illness and the diplomatic battles of his sons. One day, determined to attempt one last act of wisdom that didn't involve sock puppets, he called his sons together and presented them with a seemingly simple bundle of sticks. "For each of you," said Mr. Stickles, "I shall reward the one who can break the sticks first." Grumpy Greg, being the competitive soul he was, snapped the first stick without breaking a sweat. Moody Mike followed suit, thinking maybe the competition was who could break the stick with the most frown lines. Then Sulky Sam, not to be outdone, karate chopped his stick. They all stood, entitlement glowing like halos around their heads, waiting for the anticipated rewards. But the old man, whose cunning was perhaps overlooked, wasn't finished. But now," Mr. Stickles intoned, "I challenge you to break the bundle of sticks together." Each son took his turn, Grip not unlike a vegetarian at a barbecue, trying unsuccessfully to break the bundle. There was pushing, pulling, and some shoulder shrugging that might have evolved into dance moves if not for the competitive atmosphere. "Notice how one stick snaps easily," Mr. Stickles explained, while chronicling their efforts akin to a National Geographic narrator, "but united as a bundle, they are unbreakable." At this revelation, you could almost hear the gears in their heads clink. As realization dawned like the sunrise nobody bothered to watch, less fight, more unite, Dad had taught. United, they could tackle anything, even the challenge of who washes the donkey next. And thus, the sons learned the value of sticking together. And so, the Stickles family lived moderately ever after, sometimes bickering over who had the least convincing stick-breaking audition. Moral: there is strength in unity, but it's awfully hard to fix a broken stick.